Welcome to Wheels, Deals, and Meals, where we talk all things good food, good business, and good cars. And now, here is your host, Arnold Garcia, founder and CEO of Petra Automotive Products. Let's roll.
Sandy, thank you for being with us today. I appreciate you coming on the show. Today is a special day for me because we have Sandy Cerami on the show. Sandy is a close personal friend of mine. Apart from all the businesses that he's involved with and all the businesses that he owns and all the businesses that he helps, he is a close personal friend of mine, and I appreciate him being here with me. Sandy is not only a trainer, but has a company that recruits. He's got a company for leadership, as well as a lot of other companies that we're going to talk about today. And he's got an incredible story, a story of getting there and not getting there and getting back there. The roller coaster ride, yeah. Maybe even a couple of times. So, Sandy, thanks.
It's my pleasure,
Appreciate
my high honor. I said to you, as we were sitting here off camera, I said this was an easy plane for me to hop on. Every once in a while, you get on the bird and you go like, man, I'd like to be doing something else, but this was an easy one for me to jump on the bird and come.
What a place, huh?
Incredible. The ambiance. I think I said to you before. I love the leather seating. The look and the feel of the place. The smell of tobacco. Of course,
so we're at the Blend Bar in the Woodlands, Texas, which is a phenomenal bar and cigar lounge. If you've never been here, you need to come. But this is high-end, high-class.
Oh, yeah.
Probably one of the best I've ever been in.
Top shelf. Absolutely, all the way. It's like the obligatory old-fashioned, right? So our buddies, Scott, Jameel, Dave Boyle, they'd all be jelly right now.
Right,
they knew what we were doing, and they're not here. But as I said, my high honor. To speak about you is easy for me because you mentioned the word friend, a true friend, somebody you can call anytime, and I feel that way about you and also Arnold Jr.
I appreciate
just
that.
An incredible friendship that we struck up over the last 3 years.
It has, for sure, without a doubt. Hey, how was that limo ride over here from the Blend's limo van?
Yeah, big shout out to Alex Abels because it was the best airport transfer I've ever experienced. First of all, it's 105 degrees with like 85%, 90% humidity. So the chubby guys like me have a tough time in that environment. But, he was Johnny on the spot. He was texting me yesterday, texting me this morning, gave me the door number. I literally walked out of the airport and walked right into the Blend luxury van, hung out in the back. I had a glass of Prosecco, nod to Mary Cerami. But they delivered me in high style over here to the Blend.
How about that limo, though? Explain that a little bit. So you get picked up in this luxurious van that's a limo.
It looks like this on wheels.
That's right. And in the back you have bars, cigars, TV. It's a mini of this as they transport you here. It's really an incredible
awesome.
place.
It was awesome. And I think, that's the thing I felt walking through the door is that they have a real high-end feel to everything that they do.
That's true, for sure. I mean, everything they do here is high-end, even from as you guys saw probably in the beginning of the show before we even started, the way they light up the cigars. I was telling Sandy you might have heard it, I learned how to light up a cigar here. I thought I knew how to do it until I came here, and these guys kind of showed me how you light up a cigar.
We got a lesson. Today. The difference between an amateur and a professional is technique, and Alex was on the spot with the technique. So,
all right, so let's start with the fun stuff.
Sure.
What's your dream car? What is the car that if money was no object, right? Not an objection, what would you buy? What's your dream car?
All right, so I've been asked this question a number of times, and it's going to seem like
but never by me.
Never by you, but here's the deal. I'm always diplomatic in this respect because we deal with all the manufacturers.
I know, I get you, but it's a dream.
But I'm going to make you laugh because the car, if money was no object and I could find the right car, it's a 1978 Pontiac Trans Am, black with a beige interior with the T-tops, a Hirsch shifter, and glass pack mufflers, because that was the car my dad drove when I was a kid.
Similar to the Smokey and the Bandit kind.
That is the Smokey and the Bandit car.
So that would be your car, the retro back,
100%,
and get that Trans Am. Well, that's
the one.
That's not a bad choice.
That's the one.
I mean, that's a classic.
It reminds me of my dad, who we lost 6.5 years ago, and it was like the car that was the iconic car when I was growing up, and so that's the one. If you said to me one car that I could have forever, that's the one I want.
My first car was a 1978 Ford Mustang.
Oh, not a bad one either.
Cobra Mustang.
Yeah.
And I explained it to people by saying it's a Farrah Fawcett Cobra.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
But not girly. This was brown and
Cobra's
gold.
badass. Yeah.
Brown and gold, 1978, stick shift, 4-barrel carburetor. Every time I saw a gas station, it stopped.
Yep.
It was a phenomenal car. That was my first car. I wish I could get that car back.
Yeah. So that I mean, to me, look, there's plenty of gorgeous cars on the road today. Had a chance recently to take a look at one of the new Ferrari models, and it's a piece of art, right? Like that to me is just, it's not even though I could drive it, and feel comfortable every single day. There's something about the Trans Am that has this feel to it for me that's very comfortable, and so that's it. I mean, if I was going to pick one, that would be the one without any doubt in my mind whatsoever.
All right, that's good. That sounds doable, man.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
That sounds doable.
I have my eyes on one. There's a guy who lives in my area in New Jersey, in case you couldn't tell by the accent, and he's got the exact car that I'm looking for, and it's got 17,000 miles on it. He will not sell it, and I'm just going to be persistent.
That's
I'm just going to continually work on it, and at some point in time, the guy's going to either get to the point where he says I'm going to sell it to the guy because he's driving me nuts, or maybe he's no longer with us, and I'm going to go to the estate sale and buy up the car. So I'll get my hands on it.
You got a plan.
Mm-hmm.
All right, of all the places you've traveled, what's your favorite place to go? Of all the places you've traveled, what is Sandy's favorite?
That's an easy one. It would be Kauai. Yeah, Kauai on Hawaii. It was where Mary and I honeymooned, coming up on 25 years ago. To me, it's heaven on earth. I could live there for the rest of my life as long as my kids were there, obviously. But Kauai to me is heaven on earth.
Kauai is beautiful.
Yeah.
Kauai is beautiful.
And shout
Is
out
it,
to
apart from it being your honeymoon, so that's going to be sentimental.
Mhm.
What else did you like about Kauai? Just the look,
It's a great
the
question.
relaxation, the fact that you can just go out, be in nature.
Mm-hmm. All of it. So we stayed at the Hyatt Regency. Beautiful golf courses, a secluded beach, just maybe a half mile down, bike ride away. I love there's a certain street, and Kathy Boyle and I were talking about this. Certain street where these huge trees form almost like a tunnel, which I always have this fond recollection of because Mary and I drove through it, probably 10, 12 times while we stayed there. But we also went hiking on the other side of the island, and we did snorkeling, some diving over there. It was just an amazing place. I think that the nature and the fact that it's such a laid-back island, there's not a lot going on the island of Kauai. It's a little bit different than Maui, and a shout out to the folks in Maui. God bless them.
Yeah, for sure.
Our hearts are with them, but I think Kauai to me represents the ultimate place to relax and enjoy time with people that you love.
For sure. Food. What's your favorite type of food?
My favorite, I have to give you two answers. My favorite, if you hand me a porterhouse, medium, at a high end, what's your favorite? Steak 48.
Yeah.
All right, that to me was like one of the most incredible places. A porterhouse at Steak 48 would do just fine for me, but I also love pizza. I'm a pizza nut, as is my son.
You're going from
so,
steak to pizza.
I know, buddy. I straddle both ends of the spectrum, but I love them both equally and for different reasons, obviously.
Yeah. So what's your favorite restaurant?
Oof. Put me on the spot now because I have a bunch of friends that own restaurants.
But don't pick it just because they're your friends. We know you're going to like the French one because that's special. But favorite, even if it's your French one, it's your French one. I just, we're just picking restaurants. What's your favorite restaurant?
So I'm gonna give you two, again for two different reasons. One is Bacardi Grill, which is where we shoot our podcast often. It's where Scott Joseph and I got together for the first time, quite honestly. And then there's another little place called La Lanterna, which is a little bring-your-own place, one town over from where we live, and we've been going there with the kids for probably 17 years or so, and we've got a great relationship with the family there as well. So those are my two favorite places to go in town by us.
All right, good.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the story of Sandy.
Mm.
One of the things when I started doing this podcast is everybody gets on podcast today and talks about the problems of the industry or what's going on in the industry, which is all good, and we'll probably address some of that as well. But one of the things that I think is neat about our podcast is, although people know Sandy, they may not necessarily know Sandy. So let's talk about Sandy's story.
Okay.
How did you get, and I say, how did you get in the automotive business? Although you were in the automotive business and you kind of got out and you still are in the automotive business, but you have clients outside the automotive business, right?
Yep.
So how did you get into this business?
Well, I was born into it. I'm a third generation car brat. My grandfather was left his house when he was in sixth grade. His mother had passed away, and he lived in a YMCA for about a year and a half on a cot, and was able to get a job. He was driving at 14 years of age, a tomato company delivery truck, which was code for running numbers at that point. I don't know that he ever got pinched. I have no idea. I'm not going to tell tall tales. I just know that at one point in time, he ended up getting himself a legitimate job. He had a room in an attic from an old German woman's house in Hackensack, New Jersey. And he was just kind of working his way through life. At 18, 19 years of age, he meets my grandmother and knows that he's got to have a more, sustainable lifestyle and a more sustainable career. And so he sees on the sign of a service station, couldn't call it a gas station, he'd knock you out if you said gas station. It was a service station in his mind. And he borrows money from Standard Oil Company, John D. Rockefeller, gets himself started with a service station, parlays that into 3 service stations. He's got a commercial account that owes him money and can't afford to pay him. And so the guy makes a deal with him, says, listen, I'll give you a car that I have. You have to fix it up, sell it, take what I owe you, and I'll split the profit with you if there's any 50-50. And so he grabs the car, he re-grooves the tires, grease oil and the filter change, cleans it up, puts it on the corner of one of his service station properties. They sell the vehicle in less than an hour, and he has kind of like an aha moment. And he gets into the used car business, becomes one of the more prominent used car wholesalers on the East Coast. He's traveling, literally 300 days out of the year. And builds a reputation for integrity and doing things the right way, the way you do business, doing business with honor, integrity, ethics, and so he ultimately is walking through a restaurant one day, J.B. Mario's, and Harold Carter, who was the owner of Carter Brothers Oldsmobile, was being pitched by Pat Pettingill from Pontiac on taking a defunct Pontiac dealership in Ridgewood, New Jersey, that had been out of business for like 15 months. Had delivered like less than 200 cars the year before they had shut down. And the Carter brothers had no interest at that point. They had a booming Oldsmobile business. They did not want the Pontiac.
So let me get this straight. Your grandfather's overhearing the conversation?
He's walking through the restaurant, and Harold Carter wants to just get Pat Pettingill off his trail. And so he calls my grandfather over, introduces the two of them, but he says, Pat, the man you want for the Ridgewood, New Jersey location for Pontiac is Sandy Cerami. He's the most honest guy I know in the car business. And that introduction ended up spawning a new car dealership opportunity for my grandfather. Took over the Pontiac franchise in 1957, December of 56. They sold 1,300 cars their first year in business, new. And that was the start of the Cerami Automotive family enterprises. So I was born into the business. I had a chance, when I was 5, 6, 7 years of age. My parents divorced, and most of the time.
So your dad took over that business?
He took over that business.
Okay.
Yep.
Then your parents get divorced.
Yep.
And you have an opportunity to get in.
Well, here's what happens. I'm spending time with him on a Saturday because that was our visitation days, Saturdays and Sundays, and I would go to work with him.
With your grandfather?
With my dad.
Oh, with your dad, okay.
And I just fell in love with the business, but not the car end of the business, which is kind of funny because people will shoot the technical terms and the motorhead terms at me, and I have no idea what they're talking about. I just love the action on the showroom floor.
I'm going to take a guess that you also like the people.
That was it. Arnold, you hit the nail on the head. Like, that was it. It was the people end of the business. I loved the action and the activity, and I knew what I wanted to do. Like, at that early age, I knew I wanted to be part of this business. And I've been really blessed to have had that career path opportunity. It's had its ups and downs, but by and large, I consider myself one of the luckiest people alive because I got a chance to do what I loved early on.
So what was your first position in the dealership world? So did you start by working for your dad or for your grandfather?
Well, both. My grandfather owned the store at the time. My first position, official position, was bathroom cleaner. The first thing my dad did when I started working there as a kid was he grabbed a mop and a bucket and he sent me in to clean the technician locker room and bathrooms.
Good dad.
Smart. I was not happy about it.
I know, for sure.
But it was one of the best things he could have done for me, and I did that for quite a few weeks. I know I complained. I can, be completely honest. Be transparent. I was not happy about it. I understood later on in life why he did that, but what it did was help me appreciate the fact that you're never going to ask anybody to do something you wouldn't do yourself. And so that was one of the lessons that he left me, as a young kid.
That's great. That's great. All right, so you start there. You start by cleaning the restrooms. What's next? What's the next position?
Well, I mean, I'll condense it for you. I had an opportunity to work as a lot valet. I worked in the parts department as a shipping and receiving clerk. Sanding fenders in the body shop. Worked as a service advisor for 2.5 years. Got a chance to go into sales. Had a chance to go into the desk manager's position, F&I manager's position, and then had kind of I'll call it an elevation to a GM position. Had a great mentor, Ed Abrazizi, who to this day is a friend of mine. Had a massive impact on me in terms of how I operate in business. Very integral, cut from the cloth of doing business the right way, and had a chance to just learn the business all the way through. I mean, I've sat in most every chair that there is in the dealership at this point, with a few exceptions. And as I said, I consider myself really lucky I had that career path to pursue. I was pushed by my dad, and I was also, paid the exact same way anybody else would be paid, but it was the right way to do it.
So it's boot camp.
100%.
It's boot camp.
100%.
Arnold Jr., which is, as you've stated, and I know he's my son, so I'm going to be biased, but I think people will agree. He's a great, great, great human being.
I'll validate whatever you say.
He started in the warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
In Houston with no AC, sweating like a dog.
Yep.
Working in the warehouse. But that today he can walk in the warehouse and do something that I can't, which is he tells all those guys, I've done this.
100%.
Right. And
so
that matters.
I'm going to validate what you're saying about Arnold, because it's one of the things I really appreciate about the two of you, and why I feel so connected to you guys is because I see so much of him, so much of you in him, and so much of what I experienced growing up in the business in him. He's genuine. He's an authentic human being, and there's no air or ego with Arnold. There's like roll up your sleeves and get shit done. And I love that.
Yeah.
Allowed to say that, by the way?
Yeah, sure. Good. Absolutely.
Yeah.
we knew you were coming, so we were ready.
Brought my jersey with me. I'm sorry. You take the jersey out of my mouth today.
All right. So from starting and cleaning the restrooms, mm-hmm. to the GM position, how long was that? A year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20?
Oh, that's decades. That's literally 20 years.
So if somebody says Sandy
years.
paid his dues,
25 years.
Sandy paid his dues.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, so you become a GM. When do you move into partnership or buying your own dealer?
That's an interesting story. So there's so many layers to this. So we had a family-owned operation. I always say about my grandfather, he's got an amazing story because he came from absolutely nothing and built this incredible business. But he ran that business just like you would like a five and dime for years. Like it was almost as if, there wasn't the sophistication that you see in a lot of the operations today. And so in 2000, he was the kind of guy I thought he was never going to die. Okay, and if you ask him, he'll tell you, I'm never going to die.
Good Italian.
100%. He's Sicilian, like just hardcore Sicilian. And he didn't have what I would consider to be the greatest estate plan. He died in 2001, May of 2001, with an 18-year-old estate plan. And we had a lot of family members that were all involved in multiple different ways, and definitely a divergence of opinion in terms of what was going to be done and how it was going to be done. And so in 2001, we passes away. A lot happens. I won't get into the dirty laundry, but suffice to say, from May of 2001 until February of 2003, Mary, my wife, God bless her, I'm not here without her, by my side and supporting everything we do. We literally held that place together with bubble gum and paper clips, and we put Humpty Dumpty back together again. And I signed my dealer sales and service agreement in February of 2003. I missed Keep America Rolling. We lost our floor plan in September of 2001, September 1st. So September 11, 2001, what happened. And so we watched everybody else profit wildly off of Keep America Rolling, and we were working on literally buying one car at a time and selling it because we had no floor plan source. It was an interesting time. It taught me a lot. it thickened my skin, I can tell you that. And it was a near-death experience, when you talk about it from a business perspective. But as I said, taught me a lot of valuable lessons that I take with me today.
So you lost the dealership at that point.
We didn't lose the dealership. We were able to hold on to it. And, some of what we had to do, set up a separate LLC so we can buy and sell used cars. I mean, there was a lot going on. But Mary and I took everything we had. We pushed it to the center of the table in 2003. We sold our house. We liquidated 401ks, an investment account. We were literally on the edge, but it was the dream that I had, from a very early age growing up. And I said this to Scott Joseph once on camera. It's really the only time I ever said it, is I was more fearful of who I was without the dealership than I was of, chasing the dream that I had and taking on all the debt that we did in order to do it. And that was probably not the right decision, because when we get to 2007, 2008, when, the financial crisis is looming, we were not in a good position, and we were not in a position where we could sustain or weather that storm. And so that's when we really lost everything. Mary and I were, strong 7 figures upside down, 2 little kids at that point in time. And I remember walking in the back door of our house in May of 2009, and I had tears streaming down my cheeks, and I was broke. I was overdrawn in all 3 of my checking accounts. Our house is in foreclosure, and Mary's a tough Irish German chick, right? She was raised the right way by my in-laws, and when I walked in the back of the yard and walked into the back door, crying, she says, "What's wrong?" And I just said, "Hey, we're broke." And I hadn't told her how bad it was because I didn't want her worrying with my kids. And she says to me, "You got to figure this out." And she said, "You're a smart guy." And I had not been saying that to myself for a long time. And she says, "I believe in you, but you've got to figure this out. So wipe the tears and go figure out what we need to do." And I literally left and went to a Starbucks in town. I had $11 in my pocket. And that was all the money that I had, other than the change in the little drawer of my '04 Cadillac CTS. And I wrote a business plan for the business that we have today, Sandy Cerami and Associates. And I just, all I can tell you is that I could not let my wife and my kids down. And there were many times where I thought about a garden hose in the passenger side window. I promise you, like, that, those thoughts were real. And when she said those 4 words to me, "I believe in you," I was like, what am I doing? Like, what a coward's way out. And we just literally nickeled and dimed and hammed and egged our way through that period of time and built the business that we have today.
Was that the lowest point, that point in your career?
100%. In my life, I felt like a complete failure. I felt like I'd let a lot of people down, most of all myself. When I thought about it, I was like, I had lied to myself, in terms of what I thought what I believed I was capable of doing with the resources that I had, limited resources that I had. I always think of Steve Jobs. He talked about the reality distortion field. Like, you think about things, you don't even take reality into consideration. And that can be a very dangerous thing to do. It can also be a very exciting thing to do. And I kind of, straddled both sides of that equation in that period of my life. I'm probably somebody that takes on more risk than I should, more often than I should. But it's taught me some valuable lessons about how to survive and how to thrive ultimately.
I didn't know you then, but since I've known you, you are happy-go-lucky, smile on your face,
Yeah.
glasses half full, optimistic, and all of that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine you at the lowest point in your life crying and thinking, what am I going to do next? And your wife kind of coming out and slapping you around.
100%.
You know?
You've met Mary. Mary is, Mary's no joke. Mary, man, I've been blessed in that regard. I fell in love with Mary the first time I met her. That's the God's honest truth. And that had nothing to do with what we went through in our lives. It's just that she was such a good person. You could sense that. You know that. Like,
Yeah.
you feel in a person intuitively, and that intuition spoke to me. And I fell in love with her the first time I met her, and I couldn't even speak to her for 3 years. She'd come in the front door of the dealership, I'd walk out the back because I couldn't even have a conversation with her. But
It's hard to face the realities of failure. And you said something that was very important, is that you kind of wondered who you are without the dealer.
More or
And I
less.
think that happens to men. I mean, I don't want to say men and just put that out because it happens to women too that are business owners,
Sure.
but obviously at that time a more predominantly male business. But I think, we are a little bit of old school. We're always taught that we are, the provider
Yep.
and all that kind of stuff. And I know that things change sometimes in the modern world, but regardless, there is a sense of reality that you go, man, who am I if I don't have that?
100%. If you don't have that safety net, and it's a very real set of circumstances, not just for me, but for a lot of people in business, where they tie themselves so tightly, their identity so tightly to their professional life, that they forget that what's inside is what's the most important. I had to learn that lesson the hard way. I had to be hollowed out on the inside to a degree professionally in order for me to discover who the hell I was personally as a human being. And so you just paid me the highest compliment, because the fact that that's how you see who I am today, that's the transparency that I want to live in my life. Do I have dark moments, and do I have those moments of doubt like every other human being? 100%. But I am truly thankful every morning when I get up. And I heard this, and I can't remember if it was Tony Robbins or someone else that said it. It might have been Rhonda Barrett. But when my feet hit the ground, the first two things I say are thank you. And I'm thanking the man upstairs, because I'm the most imperfect Christian you'll ever meet. Promised you, but I am a believer that without
I'm
God,
the second most imperfect
Yeah, I
person
know,
you'll
I
meet.
know, I know. But without God, I'm not here. I mean, like I know that there is
And
a divine sense in that.
it's easy, we as we'll do a little Christian part here, but the Bible talks about giving thanks in all things.
Yep.
Yeah, that's easier said than done.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when everything's going good, you can read that and go, oh yeah, But when you are walking in the back of the door of your house, the back door of your house, and you've got $11 in your pocket, it's kind of tough.
100%. I can't tell you that I was grateful and thankful at that moment in time, but post facto, that moment created the memory of gratitude for me.
And build some character in who you are today.
Built character. It also showed me a lot about who the person that I spend my whole life with, Mary, is. Without her, I'm not here, and we probably protect our kids like many parents would from all the truths and realities of what we've gone through. But the truth of the matter is, I wouldn't want it any other way. I'd rather have to go through the tough stuff and learn it the hard way than have it be easy and not appreciate it the way that I think we do at this point. And it's also created for me opportunities to have relationships like this. Like I wouldn't be here if my life didn't go the way that it went. And so
Sure.
I'm
It's,
always,
I mean, we look at it now.
yeah,
Now you look back and you go, it taught me this character. It gave me this ability. It showed me that I don't have to go get the garden hose when I got $11.
Yep.
That there's another way out. And it gives you that podium to speak to young people. In fact, as I'm talking to you, I need you to come speak to our Petrocares kids, right? The charity that we have with kids that are exiting the foster care program or young homeless adults. They don't have $11. They have negative.
they have nothing. Yeah.
Nothing. Zero. Not even a parent to tell them, look, this is the way you should do it. I need you to come speak to them and share that story of this is where I got, and look at where I'm at.
Sure.
Because they also can be where we are today.
Yep.
It's going to take time and it's going to take work. It's going to take not giving up,
That's it.
and building those blocks, those character blocks from all the stuff that we do, but that's how important that is.
I think, you touch upon the thing that I think is most important, that foundation of faith. And faith is a funny thing. It's believing in something that you don't see or necessarily feel at that moment in time, but having the faith in God, faith in yourself, faith in the people that are around you. I think about my mom. My mom was probably, I don't talk about her enough, but my mom is the epitome of persistence and toughness. She had me when she was 20 years old. I know, has given me a lot of the roadmap to persist and persevere and get through the tough stuff and appreciate all of the things that you went through to get where you're going in your life. And faith, I think, is the thing that carries you and sustains you.
Sure, for
In order
sure.
to do that. So.
All right, so let's forward. Let's go into the good stuff.
Yep.
So you're at a Starbucks. You come up with your business plan of Sandy Cerami and Associates. Is that what it was?
No, at the time it was Applied Selling Dynamics.
Applied Selling Dynamics. What was that?
So
what was this new plan? What was this new business for Sandy?
Yep. It's a great question because it was a really interesting point in history and in business. It's 2009. The financial world is imploding around us. Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, up in a puff of smoke, gone, like didn't exist. Other companies that are failing miserably, big, massive, multinational, multi-billion-dollar conglomerates that are in trouble, and I'm recognizing that even though the car business is really taking it on the chin, because remember we went down to a SARS of like 9-10 million vehicles a year, which was like half of what we had been experiencing for the 6 or 7 years prior to. But I knew that there would be talent because I'm in a bedroom community for Wall Street that was looking for another opportunity because the banks were shedding people like crazy. And so here was my plan. My plan was, because I always loved the selling profession, and I knew how to do it the right way. I knew that was one thing I could do really effectively, was develop business and develop relationships. I just wanted to teach people how to do it the right way. Not sell, but to develop relationships. And so I figured I would train and develop the talent, and then I would get paid from them, and then get paid to place them in the dealership environment. And a funny thing happened along the way. As I put that business plan together, first client I had never paid me. It was a really weird thing for me because I hadn't been in a position where I had to go out and
Should we name that name?
no, I won't right. Because I'll tell you,
I'll know who it is.
He's still a friend of mine. He's no longer in the business. He's since sold his stores, but it was as much on me as it was on him. Okay, and it was because I didn't know how to ask for an overdue receivable. Mm-hmm. And so I rather than have that tough conversation,
which is like ask for the sale, you also have to ask for the money.
Gotta get the money. Yeah. Listen, my grandfather used to say all the time, money is easy to make, it's hard to get your hands on.
That's right.
And so what I learned along that experience was, number one, how to ask for the order and ask for your money when it was time to get paid. But I also started having these different conversations. People would say to me, listen, I don't need any more salespeople right now, but here's what I really need. I need a service advisor, or I'm having a problem in my service department. We're not making money in service. We're not making money in used cars. And they would ask me to come in and problem solve in other areas of the business. And so what started out being a training and placement opportunity became a full-blown consultancy. And so over the course of about 4 or 5 years, using nothing but LinkedIn, I had no money to advertise. I needed money like I needed oxygen. I was flat broke. I used LinkedIn and literally built the business on LinkedIn marketing, if you will, repeat and referral business and word of mouth, and that was it. And so it's brought us to the point now where we've got a training and placement aspect to our business. We do leadership development.
So since that day in Starbucks to now, how many years?
That is now that's 13 years.
So 11 years, from $11 in your pocket, building all this character. Today your company does all of what?
In terms of revenue?
No. In terms of what you're doing. So we train. Speaker.
Yep.
Recruiting.
Correct.
What else?
So we do business development and leadership training. I do professional speaking, and then we do recruiting and placement for any position in automotive. Really makes no difference. And it's, whether it's dealers, OEMs, the large publics, single rooftops, it really makes no difference for us. We use a database of about 15 or 16,000 people that we've amassed over the last 12 years or so, along with some proprietary digital marketing that we employ so that we can harvest candidates. But it's a business that grew beyond automotive. We got a chance to go in and work in the solar industry, FinServe. We're looking at insurance, HVAC, and real estate right now as opportunities because...
But also entertainment. You also are training for some of the entertainment companies, right?
We've worked with ESPN Radio. We have worked with Cablevision, which is now owned by Altice. And
I only say that to add to what you're talking about all these other companies, right? But you are now beyond automotive.
Correct.
And we've used you in Petra as our trainer and guest speaker as well.
Yep.
And you're phenomenal at it.
Thank you.
Because you're genuine. Because you come up and you give people the story of your life, and then you have the 7 pillars, right?
Correct.
Of how we get how do we become better, and you are phenomenal at it. And when you train people the way you train it, and with your 7 pillars, and with your theory, that transcends automotive.
100%. It's we're in a place in the world right now where people don't want to be pitched. They're sick and tired of being pitched, the hard pressure tactics of old school days, and that translates into any business where you're selling a product or a service. And so the way that we separate selling, traditional selling, and talk about what we call killer business development is the foundation is authenticity, being a genuine human being, being the very best version of yourself, and then utilizing your ability to develop relationships so you can build your business. We teach people how to turn everyday conversations into client opportunities. We teach them how to become the most trusted resource in their marketplace so that when people hit high noon, meaning when we're selling, we're always at high noon. Every second of every day, we're always at high noon, ready to sell something to someone. But the prospective clients out there are at high noon when they're ready. And so you've got to make sure that you maintain a presence in the marketplace. And social media has become an incredible way to do this so that you're constantly in front of them, but not pitching, offering them value, offering them a chance to laugh, to learn, to cry, to feel something, some level of value so that when they do hit high noon, it's your phone that rings or your inbox that dings because you're the person that they think of when they don't know who to call or what to do. And that's the ideal way to develop a business long term.
Relationship building.
That's it. And it's exactly how you build your business.
That's the way. Listen, I follow your model and I believe it, and I've done it all my life as well. People buy from people they like.
Mm-hmm.
How do they like you? You got to build a relationship before
Absolutely.
you sell. I believe in. Listen, I have tons of friends that don't use my product.
Yep.
They're still my friends. I love them.
Yep.
And I'm there for them and they're for me. And I call them up. I called the other day a guy to pitch him on an idea. Hey, what do you think about this? Right? One day they may use me. They may not. I don't know. But I know this. People buy from people they like, and in order for them to like you, you got to have a relationship with them.
100%.
Right? They have to know who you are.
I watched this in two of your annual distributor events that I've had the good privilege of being part of. I see how people interact with you and your team. Rob Richardson, another one like, Big Mike, like your team are real people. And I see the way your distributors and your clients gravitate towards your team. There's a genuine connection with the people that you do business with. And it's not just business, it transcends business. It's a personal relationship. And I think that is the most effective way to build a sustainable, long-term, successful business. And that's, you live and breathe it. I mean, I had a chance to see it, last event, which was, I think, in March of this year, when you and Brad were talking, and Chuck as well. Yep, yeah. Chuck was there. I watched it in real life happening, and those are the moments for me where I get to learn something as well, and it validates everything that we're talking about here.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Hey, somebody starting out today or going through a situation like you went through, or succeeding in life. What are three things that you can three pieces of advice, points that you can give people today, as they try to get ahead in their career or their business or establish their business?
Mm-hmm.
What are three quick points that you can give people?
First thing I would say is to hold yourself to a higher standard of expectation than anybody else does. The minute the outside has higher expectations for you than you do for yourself, conflict and pain is probably going to follow. Okay, and so always set the expectations for yourself higher than what anybody else has in terms of their expectations for you. Learn that lesson the hard way. I'm a two-time college dropout or college failure. I mean, they booted me out twice. Learn that lesson the hard way. The second thing I would say is understand the value of people. People matter more than anything else. We can talk about the numbers, the KPIs, the things that we want to achieve in our life, the things that we want to attain, the material things. But at the end of the day, if we don't have a fundamental understanding and appreciation of the value of people, then those things generally don't materialize in your life. And then the third thing I would say is accountability. Holding yourself accountable and holding those that you partner with and work with together accountable to do the right thing. And always look to exceed, as I said, their expectations in terms of accountability, because I think that sets the tone for a high level of trust. And trust to me is the tie that binds in any relationship.
Yeah, for sure. Mistakes matter?
Sure, make them.
Yeah.
I think people need to go out and make mistakes. It's the single biggest fear. When we talk about it from a business development perspective, what are our prospective clients thinking? They're thinking, I don't want to make a bad decision, or I don't want to make a mistake. Okay, and so the more that we can do by number one, sharing with them the mistakes that we've made and the experience that we've been able to garner as a result of those, and then giving them the confidence to know that we're going to help them avoid the mistakes makes all the difference in the world. But I always encourage, especially younger folks, to not try and be perfect, to not be afraid of making a mistake. Go out there, make a little bit of a mess, learn from it, but make the mess, clean it up, and take the lesson away from that experience. And then those that are in a position of leadership, allow your people to make mistakes. Don't crush them. Let them fail nobly in the process of growing, along the way. So
I always say, we strive for perfection, but we're not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
If you make mistakes, own up to it, learn from it.
100%.
Right? There's no problem in making a mistake. Just own up to it.
Yep.
The problem is continuing to make the same mistake over and over and over again. We have to learn from them.
I have been guilty of that.
Mistake is not a bad thing.
No.
We just got to learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's part of the class. It's part of the education. Sandy,
Absolutely.
thank you for being with me, man. I
Buddy,
appreciate this so much.
My high honor.
Yeah,
Really.
we're gonna take a little break. We're gonna ask Todd, one of the owners of the Blend, to come. He's gonna bring us some food, and you're gonna help me interview him, and we're gonna eat some food.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you for listening to Wheels, Deals, and Meals, your main source for all things good and fun, business, food, and cars. If you like this episode, make sure to rate us and subscribe. If you would like to be a guest on our show, please leave a message at the link below. Till next time, happy eating!